And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Elemental Clash is a living card game, I suppose, following the idea of Fantasy Flight, where instead of buying a collectible card game where you try to buy packs of cards and find out what you're getting, instead you buy cards and you know exactly what you're getting, but at the same time you can customize your decks. This is a very common thing these days. People are getting a little tired of the randomness, I suppose. Elemental Clash has some similarities to Magic the Gathering. And when I say has some similarities, I mean there's almost 50% similarities. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not its own game. I think that it is. But I think, well, alright. Before we get into what I think, let's take a closer look at the game. But let me explain to you before we start. You know, here you get enough that you could build 4 decks with this opening pack. So if you had 4 different people, you could play 2-on-2, etc. with this game. And you can even mix the decks up and do more with them. So that's what you're getting. It's basically like a CCG, but not quite. Is it worth getting? Take a look. This is a map that's included with the game. You don't actually need the map to play. You can just imagine these zones in front of you. But the game uses spark stones or different kinds of stones that you're going to be placing on the board. And these are going to allow you to bring out creatures. Like I said, it's hard to explain, but it's very similar to Magic in a sense. So the Venus stone here produces 1 earth energy. Now these stones, this is the most interesting part of the game, can have things added to them. So, for example, here's 2 earth stones, and then if I put any other kind of stone on top of this, there's still earth stones. It's a pile of 3 earth stones. So this allows you to put, for example, maybe one air, one stone that produces air in your deck. So let's say, for example, I have a Jupiter stone here, it's air, and then I get a whole pile of earth energy. So I made an air earth deck, and I could put 2 earth stones on top of this, but this still produces 3 air energy. And that's an interesting thing. At this point in time, nothing costs more than 3, so you would never want to go more than 3. But let's say I wanted to bring out, for example, this Elder of the Skies card, which up here in the corner you can see that it costs 3. I would put it on top of that pile of 3 because that's technically 3 air energy. So the game basically is, put it on your turn, you draw a card. And then you play any card. You can play one of these stone cards in front of you, and you can play any other cards that you can fit on top of each pile. So I can put a 3 here, and then if this produces earth energy, so let's say I have a Soul Surge card that I'm going to play. This actually isn't a creature. I can put it out here. Then when my creatures come into play later on, they're going to come into play either in the attack zone, where they will attack the other player, or into the defense zone, where I can defend from attacks from the other player. When you attack with creatures on your turn, you simply attack. Each creature has an attack and a defense. That attack will do damage to the other player and make them lose cards from their deck. The object of this game is to destroy the other person's deck. Or if it's in a defense, I can block it, and if my defense is higher than your attack, I'm fine. Otherwise, I'm going to take damage, and my creature will die. So defense creatures are put out there simply to protect you. The attack ones are there to attack the other player. You can also directly attack creatures in their attack zone. So on your turn, you'll be playing, and you'll be drawing cards. And one of the interesting things is when you discard cards, you discard them face up like this, and some cards have the word boon written on them. And when a card is boon, you can instantly bring that into play. So boon is a neat concept of the game, and it's another concept that I like. But other than that, and I'm gonna be blunt here, is basically the creatures. This is a very similar feel to Magic, where you're going to be playing spells on the other person, or where you're going to be putting out creatures who, when they die, they go to your discard pile. The difference here, instead of attacking in Magic, you have to kill the other person for 20 points of damage. Here you have to get rid of their deck. Now you can mix, in this original set, we have Earth, Air, fire, and water, and you can mix those. In fact, the game comes with 2 set decks that you can start playing with. You just put in the requirements, but you can build your deck following the different rules. And there's 4 elements, but there's also different neutral zones which provide neutral energy, which isn't useful by itself, but like I said, you can put on the stack, and it has some special ability. Like that one has boon. This one here, creatures on this have quick attack, which means as soon as they come into play, they can attack your opponent. The artwork in the game, and I say this not being an artist myself, just really isn't that good. For example, look at the troll here. Now, you may like that troll, and the designer of the game said that he is looking for, when he republishes it someday, he'll get some better artwork. But also, I have to say that even the enemies themselves are a bit bland. I'm sorry, I just don't see what's so exciting about having a toad on my side, while you have the Elder of the Skies. And the trolls and the fire elementals and the water elementals, it's all kind of, yeah, I've been there, seen that, done that. But some people are going to like, I think the 2 coolest concepts of the game are putting different of these stones together, and basically they merge into one type. And that boon, that when you turn cards over, you're discarding them, boon cards will come out. And so that's certainly an ability that you're going to want in your deck. All that being said, I'm just not seeing that this game is one that really interests me. The designer is a very friendly individual. He'll answer your questions instantly, very much on top of the game. And so I wish him great success. But for me, I could see maybe this game having something for someone who likes Magic but doesn't want to get into it that much, or maybe has an interest in Magic. This is kind of a stepping stone. But for me, with Magic the Gathering already in existence, I don't see how this game offers much that Magic doesn't. The artwork is the card quality is fine, but the decks, I played it several times, and I'm sure I'll get emails after saying this. I don't see how a single element deck is that much worse than double. I mean, I do like the fact that they tried to mitigate putting decks together. You could put a deck of all 4 elements together, but I still, in our games, we consistently seen that a single element deck not dominates, but does better on average. And again, I haven't played the game that much, maybe to get a good strategy tips, and I'm sure I'll hear from people. But it just is a little too simple for me. And I like simplicity in games, but this one I was looking for a little bit more. Each creature, well, this creature is this creature has an attack of 3 and a defense of 3, this creature has an attack of 2 and a defense of 2, this creature has an attack of 1 and a defense of 2. There's some variations in there and special cards, but there comes a point where my biggest problem with the game is this. That is, eventually you're going to get all the cards in your hand out. It's going to happen over the course of a game, but you only draw 1 each turn. So for a lot of people, you're down to 1 or 2 cards, you draw a card, that's the card you play. You draw a card, that's the card you play. And that puts the game into, to me, too much into the deck building aspect and not actually the playing aspect, because it all depends on how your deck's built. Because you draw a card, I got a toad, I'll play this. Draw a card, I got a goblin, I'll play this. I draw a card, another stone, yay! And that part of the game then gets really boring to me. So, I can't really give this one a thumbs up. It's more like, I can see some people liking it, but it's just really not my style.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.